Greetings all. Today we have the privilege of interviewing Van Roy Heflin, Barrett MBE, MSc, PGDip, MInstLM. Van is commonly known as Baz. His story begins in Jamaica in 1954, where he was separated from parents, age 1, but continues in the UK after being sent for arriving as a part of the Windrush in 1962, age 8. At 16, Baz joined Her Majesty's Armed Forces as a boy soldier, served for 24 years. Having seen more than enough active service, he left as a Warrant Officer, RQMS. After leaving the army, Baz initially worked for the Prince's Trust in Birmingham, then Stoke and Trent College, where he initiated the Prince's Trust programs in Stoke and Trent and Staffordshire, seeing over 3,000 young people through to greater opportunities. He engaged fully in wider college development and became a program manager with a staff team of 60 and was a founder member of the Equal Opportunities Committee. In 2006, Baz was awarded the MBE for services to further education and young people. He shared his love of rugby by coaching mini and junior players. Valuing education, Baz undertook a wide range of academic qualifications, laterally gaining a master's in military, veterans, health, and well-being, and currently heads up the Veterans Hub, a project that supports veterans and their families to find understanding, community, and purpose. Baz has lived a life of struggle and achievement. However, he loves nothing more than to support those that may be struggling to reach their full potential. In doing so, he has learned much about himself, others, and societies around the world. Baz, who is married with 2 grown-up children and 2 grandchildren, will kindly share with you an understanding of the potential barriers to support for people like himself, as well as potential solutions to pulling those barriers down. Baz, good morning to you, sir.
Morning, Don.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm pretty good.
Good.
It's a bit cold outside.
Yes. We've hit that time of the year where we've got some white stuff called snow. We don't see it very often, but it's with us right now. So
yeah,
it's a part of our life. Thank you, Baz. I always thank people who agree to do this project, because some people don't do it, and I wish they would, because they've got fantastic stories to tell. So thank you, sir. We're going to go down the road of looking at your history, bit of background, right up to today. So can we start off by you giving me a little bit about your background, sir?
Yeah. So born in a place called Good Hope, or I lived in a place called Good Hope in Jamaica, Westmoreland. Yeah, my parents left Jamaica, obviously as part of the whole Windrush, and myself and my brother, who was 2 years older than me, were brought up by our grandmother. And my grandmother from my father's side, but also from time to time we'd visit my grandparents from my mother's side.
Wow.
Yeah, and quite amazing. Every time I look back on those times, I believe wholeheartedly they were the foundations that made me the person that I am today.
That's great. That's a great statement. So you obviously remember quite a bit of that, those 8 years.
I remember some. My brother, who's 2 years older, remembers more.
Yes, naturally.
And over the years, we've talked about things and things drop into place.
Yeah. So have you been able to visit your birthplace since?
Yeah, it took me a while. But yeah, I went back for the first time in the year 2000.
Okay. Yeah.
which was a long time.
I guess going back to that, I mean, there's all sorts of feelings and thoughts conjure in your mind, I would imagine, because at 8, you're very small, and then you go back as a grown adult. I mean, it's quite a difference, isn't it?
It is. And so when I went back, I was able to take my wife and my 2 children.
Excellent.
So my daughter was 11 and my son was 13
All
at
right.
the time. And the place that I grew up with my grandmother, it's, the properties, the place is still there.
Oh,
And
excellent.
one of my aunts who had come to England had built a house on the plot as
Oh,
well. And she eventually went back there to live. But it was just one of those moments, to be able to show my children, my wife, where I grew up, and it certainly brought back a wide range of feelings for me that particular time.
that's fantastic, because there are a lot of people who sort of travel a similar journey like you know, leaving the Caribbean or wherever, but they never go back. You know, so for you to go back with your children and to show them that is a part of the heritage, shall we say, you know,
Sure.
and that I commend that. That's fantastic. So what was your experience here like during your years of schooling? Where did you come to, by the way, when you come to England?
It was Coventry.
Oh, Coventry.
Yeah,
Okay. All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
just
And what was your
over.
experience there like in terms of growing up, schooling and all that?
Well, myself and my brother, we were the only 2 black kids in the school, in the junior school.
All right.
Um, and when he left, he was 2 years older than me.
Yeah.
Then I was the only one. So, and that's an interesting thing that's happened. But it was mixed.
Yes.
I guess there were some really difficult times, tough times around
Mm,
race, and I guess children who've never seen somebody like me before, let alone
mm,
you know
mm.
talk to them and so on.
And it goes the
Um,
other way as well, isn't it? I mean, you're not experienced that kind of world either, are you?
no, no. Um, and there was a whole range of things, from um, me talk, for example, um, they would talk about having a pair,
Having a what?
the pair to eat,
Oh, right, yeah.
an English pear, and then I'm thinking, that's not a pear.
I know.
A pear is a green thing that used to grow in my grandmother's garden.
As in the avocado pear, right?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, and so a range of things, and obviously food that we would eat, like pineapples and things that would grow, and
Yeah.
which some folks had never really seen, never
Uh-huh.
mind eaten. So
Yeah.
it was just I don't know, a disconnect between things, and even the way that we spoke,
Naturally.
and trying to understand what a teacher was saying. um, it was just like white noise, you just couldn't understand much.
What was that? Was that vice versa? You know, did they have a problem understanding you, or what?
I I think so. There must have been, to a degree,
Mm.
but so it, in growing up in Jamaica, my aunt was a school teacher.
Okay.
One of my aunts was a school teacher.
Mm.
So, and she lived in Mandeville,
Yes.
and she used to come down and obviously trying to teach us, English, and um, trying to get us to learn to read properly and all those kind of things. So I guess some of those things were, there
Mm.
already. perhaps it wasn't as difficult.
Mm, mm.
And my whatever patois I had soon disappeared, I think.
Right. Yeah,
You know,
because the basic way of speaking, you have proper good ground in English in Jamaica, really.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So how long did that last for? That that kind of whiteness, as you put it, did that last a while?
Or the noise, just not understanding
Yeah.
what teachers are saying. It wasn't too long, I guess. You know,
Mm,
it's hard to remember, but there were things that I I just didn't know
mm.
about the culture and things that people were saying on a day-to-day basis that you had no idea.
Absolutely. Steep
Uh,
learning curve, really, isn't it?
yeah,
Steep
yeah,
learning curve. Yeah. Well,
yeah,
so that was junior school, right? And then you progressed to
yeah,
senior school. How was that?
yeah. Senior school was really different. It was really mixed.
Mm.
There were folks from India, Pakistan, um, uh, Ukraine. There was just a whole real mix of people there, and it was a boys. So it was a boys and girls school, but the girls and boys were separate.
Oh,
So there were schools next to each other. The girls was one side and the boys was the other.
all right. Okay.
Um, so and I guess there was still an amount of prejudice, and I think I used to for quite a while. I used to have a fight almost every day
Really?
with somebody. Somebody say something, and I would just yeah.
Did you get into trouble?
I I did, but there was one teacher who was the PE teacher, um, and he took me to one side one day and said, Barrett, you can't fight everybody. And I'll never forget this. He said, one day you'll meet somebody that's bigger and tougher than you, and he will do you some damage. And that really made sense to me. And from that day, I I would only fight if I had to.
That's quite a lesson. Quite a lesson. So what
Yeah.
about the academic side and sporting side? Was there a balance in that, or one overtook the other?
So the academic side wasn't great for me. Um, I remember at junior school taking what they used to call the 11 plus.
Oh yes.
I remember at the junior school taking that and just sitting there and looking at the paper. I think I probably wrote my name on the thing, and that was about it, really. I couldn't understand it.
Wow.
And then when you went to senior school, you had an opportunity to, I think they call it the 12 or 13 plus, something like that. So you had an opportunity to take it again.
Okay.
And I went forward to do it, and pretty much the same thing happened.
Wow.
I just couldn't understand or much um, at all. But I could read,
Mm,
and I could write,
mm, mm.
to a degree. But I guess just the understanding, it just didn't go in.
Right.
I wasn't a bad child in the class. I wasn't one of those that caused trouble, or
Mm.
I there's a desperation to learn. I
Right.
had a real desperation to learn, but it just didn't seem to happen.
Did anybody explain to you what it would have meant if you were successful in your 11 plus, or
Well, yes, we knew that it was about going to the grammar school. You could get
Mm,
to the grammar school, which is a higher level school, kind of
mm.
thing. But I, I don't think I really understood the whole
I get you.
what it really meant. It
Mm.
was just, something that was better, I suppose.
Yeah. So
Um,
towards the end of your schooling, then, did you have any idea what you wanted to do?
no, so there was a class. when you got into the fourth year, some kids you could stay on at school
Oh
after
yeah.
that, and they would separate those that would stay on and those that wouldn't. Those would stay on would go into, I think it would have been class 4A, and those that wasn't staying on would be in class 4B.
Okay.
And I was in class 4B. And I guess we did different things, you know.
Mm.
So we had various organizations would come in and tell you about work in, you know, different places.
Mm.
But one of the things that we also did was to go out individually into the community and go and help older people.
All right.
So and I remember going out and, you know, sitting with you know, a number of older folks and doing a bit of shopping for them and that kind of thing. And it was I at the time felt it was such a good thing to do,
Okay.
you know.
Yeah.
But I guess taking a step back around sport, I really excelled in sport, both at my primary school.
Mm.
I was made captain of the cricket team. There's there was an assumption that I would be good at cricket
Oh
coming
yes,
from
I think I understand what you mean.
but you know, we won a shield.
Yeah.
I was captain. That was at junior school.
All
At
right.
senior school, I excelled in rugby,
Oh.
and I was the captain of our, you know, rugby team for my year. You know, going through each year.
Mm.
I was a prefect. I was, you know, house captain for, you know, a year. So clearly there was something that people saw.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Especially leadership. I would have thought they would see
Yeah,
that in you straight away from a
yeah.
very young age.
And we played, you know, all sports really at school, cricket, basketball, you know, all those kind of things.
Mm.
And I did excel in those things really.
What you know, did your class B, was that geared up to have a final sort of exam, some sort of to leave with some sort of qualification or not?
No, no. So I left with no qualification
Wow.
at all.
Mm. Mm.
And then I guess going to your question about what did I want to do,
Mm.
um, I didn't know.
Right.
I didn't really have a clue. There was, I remember something even back at junior school, thinking about joining the Navy, and I don't, you know, and I have no recollection of why.
Mm.
Um, and then when I left at senior school, I had no idea what I was going to do.
Mm.
Um, but there was a friend, one of the guys in the 4A, his brother was in the army, and he
Okay.
talked about that quite a lot. And he was going to go and join, I think, all the junior soldiers
Right.
somewhere. So he already had a plan to do that.
Uh,
Um, and then I was there was a guy that I knew, you know, from another school, but lived nearby me.
mm.
Um, who we used to play football in the park.
Right.
There used to be about 50 or 60 of us, you know, showing up and having, I don't know, 20 aside.
Yes, 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 I know.
But you know, so this guy living in me, and I bumped into him one day, and he had also joined the army as a junior soldier.
Okay.
He was a year older than me,
Yeah.
um, and he was telling me about it. Um, and I decided that's what I would do. I would join the junior soldiers.
So from there then, how did that go with mommy and daddy?
So I I went to the recruiting office. They didn't know.
Right.
This guy that I knew took me up to the recruiting office. I went in. I so, did all the papers and talked to the people there, and then they said to join. Obviously, I would have to get my parents to sign
Yes.
the papers for me to go. Um, so I took the papers home, and my mother was happy to sign it, but my father wouldn't sign it.
On what grounds?
I don't really know.
Oh,
We didn't talk much.
oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, yeah. I don't really know, but my brother, says that it was probably about not what him thinking that I might get killed or joining the army and things like that. So, but I don't know. I
Okay.
never did have that. So, but I needed to have two signatures, and my father wouldn't sign it.
Wow.
So when I looked at, I read the paper, the thing again, and it said, actually, it said one parent and another adult, or both parents, or one parent and a responsible adult
Right.
could sign the paper. So I used to help my mother a lot with the shopping, and I did a lot of cooking and looked after, helped look after the younger kids and so on.
Yes. Yeah.
So I used to go do the shopping on my own at the corner shop. And the lady, I knew the lady there very well, and she obviously trusted me, and so
Yeah.
on. And so I took the paper to her and said, "Would you sign it?" And she signed it.
Wow. Did your mother know that?
Yeah, I told her that that's what I was going to do.
Oh, okay.
So, um, and interestingly, years later, I asked my mother why she signed it. Why did she go against my father and do that? And she said that's what you wanted to do.
Wow.
And sorry, it's emotional, and that has stuck with me
Right.
all my life about um recognizing what people want to do and helping them and giving the opportunities to be able to achieve that. So,
Amazing. Amazing. Did you ever um at all talk to your dad further, even later on in life, about any of that?
um, not really, but it, interestingly, after I'd signed up and the letters came through and everything to say I was going and I got a date, he took me to Burton's tailors and bought me a suit.
Really?
And then he took me to the train station.
Wow.
So it was hard to balance.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Um,
But he died when he was 48. So
oh, really?
yeah, yeah, he died quite young. So I never really had, I didn't have a good relationship with my father.
Mm, mm,
And so I didn't really get a full opportunity to have, these kind of conversations.
I understand that. And especially if he had lived on, he could have seen your development in the army. And
Sure.
yeah, and that would probably make quite a difference. Wow.
Um, I mean, he came to, so as a junior soldier, I actually got promotion to, I was a junior sergeant,
Right.
you know, um, and, they came to my passing off parade and,
Excellent.
those
Excellent.
kind of things. So there was an element of obviously seeing, those things, but,
Mm. So both mum and dad was at your passing out parade.
yes,
That makes such a difference.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and you know, some other family friends. Yeah, yeah. So yeah.
So how for going on from there then, what was your career like in the army? You know, because I mean that's a good stretch, you know, from 16 to whatever age. How was
Yeah,
that?
yeah. I had I guess I had 2 years, roughly 2 years as a junior soldier,
Yeah,
and that was amazing.
really.
Was amazing. You know, there was, although from a military perspective, and I guess from people, it's all, you know, it's a restrictive kind of regime
Mm,
in a way, but as junior soldiers, we were able to um, do all kinds of adventure training. So we canoed, we rock climbing, we did cycling. I excelled in my rugby. You know, I was captain of the junior soldiers rugby team there, and we won a you know a trophy competition that hadn't been won before by our junior soldiers unit and
wow.
those things. We did education in some of the evenings. We did what they call hobbies, so you could choose, you know, some hobbies to do. I did catering one year because
Really?
I really enjoyed it. You
Oh,
know, if I step back to when I went to join the army as a boy soldier, I actually went to join um, the catering corps.
oh, really?
Yeah, because I used to do a lot of cooking at home
Oh, right.
for the family and things, and
Oh,
with
yes, yes, yes. You said that you helped mother a lot. Yeah.
yeah. So I thought, you know, okay, I'll go and join the catering corps. That would, you know, so there was a method in my madness, I think.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um, but that didn't work out because my education wasn't good enough.
Okay.
You know, and the second choice was to go in the Royal Corps of Transport, which was, you know, driving those big trucks and things. And even then, my education wasn't up to that. So they offered me the infantry, um,
All right.
which I took with both hands anyway.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it's
Yeah,
very physical and all that sort of thing.
yeah. So yes, the whole thing around junior soldiers, it was amazing. So I joined as a what they call a junior drummer.
A drummer.
Oh. A drummer. So I played the bugle and the flute.
What?
I know.
Where did that come from?
That was part of the junior soldiers thing. So they had um what they call a junior infantry platoon, which in your last term as a junior soldier, you join that because that would give you the remaining skills to join your regiment.
And had you played any of these instruments before?
No, they so I had this thing in my head that I would join the band because you had a band as well there,
Yeah.
and the drummers and the infantry. And I had it in my head I would join the band and learn to play a saxophone. Um, and that didn't happen. I just wasn't of that level. There were guys coming in who were already playing
All
instruments.
right. Yeah.
So the next thing was the drums platoon, and but they teach you. So they teach you to play the bugle and the flute and that kind of thing. So that was part of your lessons during the time.
Wow.
And we used
Amazing.
to do parades and we go, do the police passing out parades. We go and play there. We'd play when the recruits passed out and,
Yeah.
parades around. I mean, two of us at probably 16 and a half, buglers, played the last post um, at a memorial event.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
That's
You know,
16 and a half. That's quite
yeah,
something, isn't it?
yeah, massive. Yeah.
Wow.
Um, so, the whole thing around junior soldiers, we had, um, So these hobbies, so you could do, various hobbies in the evening. So one time I did catering, and then I did art as well, and something else. So yeah, it was quite an amazing experience.
Wow, wow, wow. And then June, and then you went into the big world, the adult
Yes,
world.
yes. Joined the regiment, and I was in the Staffordshire regiment, and they were the regiment were at a place called Otterburn up in Northumberland.
All right.
That wasn't where they were posted. The regiment was posted in Dover,
Right.
but they were on a big national international exercise called Sky Warrior, which the
Mm,
RAF were involved with as well,
mm.
and the Navy to an extent. And it was about trialing moving the infantry um, by helicopters around the battlefield.
Okay.
Um, so everything was simulated then. So you had to carry all the kinds of weights. I mean, you will know a lot more about the weight ratio to, in airplanes and all that kind of stuff. So
Mm.
that was part of it. So you had to carry the exact weights of all these things.
Right.
And boy, that was tough. It was 6 weeks. So my at first, I guess, introduction to man service in a regiment was straight out into field on an exercise.
Wow. Wow. And
Um,
that was still quite a young age, right?
yeah, I was just 17 and a half or
Wow.
thereabouts.
Mm.
Um, yeah. And after that exercise finished, we then went to Dover, which is where the regiment was, we were actually based.
Mm.
Um, yeah,
Did you stay in one place a long time, or did you move around a lot throughout your
we
career?
we we moved around. So um, from Dover, we did a tour of Northern Ireland. That was in 1972.
Wow.
So on my 18th birthday, I was on a ferry going across to Ireland to do a first tour.
On your birthday?
Yeah, because some guys had from other regiments they had sent people who were underage. I say under 18 had gone to Ireland,
Mm.
and a couple of those guys got in some serious trouble on the streets. So
Yes.
um, I think there was a policy, I guess, that you couldn't go until you were 18.
Right. Right. Right.
So although the regiment went, it was going to be 3 weeks before I was 18. So the regiment went out, and then as soon as I was 18, I was
Wow.
on the ferry
Wow.
out there, along with some other guys as well who were in the same kind of position as me, really.
Wow. That's
Um,
amazing. How long did you spend in Northern Ireland that first tour?
that first tour was 4 months,
Wow.
4 or 5 months, and it was in yeah, it gosh, yeah, that was interesting time.
I fully understand what you mean.
I uh, I I I say to people, so I didn't know I was that black until I went on tour in Northern Ireland.
Listen, I know this interview is about you, but I've got to interject there to say that I too went to Northern Ireland at 18, right?
Yeah,
And so I fully understand what you're saying. But
yeah.
I also saw a lot of positive in that
Oh yeah,
because I was black. Yeah. So
yeah.
I'll say no more, but I fully, because I spent a whole year there. All of my 18th birthday was there, you know.
Okay.
Yes.
And where was that?
I was at Ballykelly at the RAF base.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
When
about
you
you, it's not about me.
Sorry.
I just needed to interject there to say, because the similarity in age and all that sort of thing, you know, and your experience of being black, as you say, it was completely, it was amazing. So anyway, carry on.
Yeah. So yeah, that tour finished. One of the crazy things that happened there was so Irish families, had written to the camp or to whosoever to say that they wanted to sponsor or have a soldier come to them for Christmas.
Really?
Yeah. So, I mean, you'll understand this, the whole divide between the Catholic and the Protestant.
Oh my goodness. What?
And some were supportive of the military and some weren't, but for various reasons.
Yeah.
And yes, so some families had said, we understand you're away from home, and we'll host a soldier for Christmas Day.
Wow, that's amazing.
So I was the youngest in my company, so I was selected to go and spend Christmas Day with an Irish family.
Did you have other black people in your regiment?
Yes, there was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So there you are. You didn't volunteer; they actually volunteered you, right?
Oh yeah.
To go with the. How did you feel?
I felt it was strange.
Yeah.
I felt, what about the security, and those kind of things. But there were areas in Northern Ireland that I guess the military deemed to be safe areas.
And where you were was quite safe, I would imagine.
Well, where we were going to go to.
Yes.
This family. So they showed up in the car, picked me up, took me to their house. I had Christmas dinner, and they took me back.
I think that's fantastic. That's quite a story, that is, because not everybody can say that. In the heights of the troubles, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. So moving forward then into your career, I mean, I don't know how many times you've been to Northern Ireland and all that, but you must have been to loads of other places.
Yeah. So I did, in Northern Ireland, I did a total of 6 tours out there.
Really?
Yeah. And one of them was an 18-month tour.
18 months?
Yeah. As well.
Wow.
So, and yeah. So that there's and I saw, from my first tour was in 1972, and my last tour was in 1992.
Wow. I guess there was quite a difference, was there, in terms of over the years, the difference?
Yeah. You saw a difference, but we were didn't really go back. Maybe once I went back to the same place. So there's all that kind of thing. But yes, that's one of those things.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And you got involved with the Falklands War, I believe, as well, or was it after, or what?
So with the Falklands thing, there was we were posted to Gibraltar at the time.
All right.
Our regiment was in Gibraltar, and at part of that, I guess the whole discussion around that from the MOD perspective, and they were trying to decide which units they would send. And at one time it was thought, well, Gibraltar is the nearest, and that the Staffordshire Regiment would go. But that changed, I guess, for various reasons, and I don't know fully, but Gibraltar became quite significant staging post during that time, and it would seem that a Spanish general had raised something about it would seem, invading Gibraltar.
Okay.
So our role then became more of more significant in Gibraltar, I guess, because it was a staging post and there's a
Right.
number of
Right.
things that needed to be. So that's what happened with that. But significantly, that was when my father passed away,
Oh,
and and um, he was out in Jamaica at the time as well. He'd gone out to Jamaica and had passed away out there.
so it was on a holiday.
Yeah,
Wow.
visiting family, various things. But yes, he was out in Jamaica at the time,
Wow.
and but because of the things going on with the Falklands, no information other than things to do with the Falkland stuff was coming through.
Mm.
So I didn't know.
Really?
No, I didn't know. Certainly, I didn't get any information at all until. So also, whilst that was going on, I was being sent back to the UK to go and do a course whilst the Falklands thing was going on. And there was a lot of delays of us getting over because all of the flights and everything was geared towards, things going to the Falklands and
Fully understand. Fully
all
understand.
all of the stuff. So part of the reason I understand for that not knowing, no signal or no information other than stuff to do with that was coming through to the military.
Fully
Um,
understand.
and
Yeah.
I got back to the UK, and I was at a place called Netherhaven.
Yes.
So I was going to do a thing called the Milan course, which is this weapon system guided weapon system course that I was being put on. And when I got there, evening, I made a phone call to a friend, and she said to me, "Have you phoned home?" Um, and I said no. And then I rang home, and that's when I found out.
Oh my
By
goodness.
that time, one of my brothers and sisters had gone out to Jamaica, and he was, being buried in a couple of days. That
Oh, so you didn't get to attend?
No,
Wow.
um,
Wow. That's such a shame in the sense that you didn't even know about it, you
sure,
know.
Uh,
Um,
and that's the thing about war and conflict,
yes. Yes.
uh, you
Yes.
know, and
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
are parts of the realities that folks don't understand and appreciate.
100%. 100%. Because the
Yeah,
priority is so much focused on the war that
yeah,
everything else is secondary
yeah.
to that. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Because you only have one father, one mother, and regardless of whatever,
Sure.
there's one time you need to be told immediately of that sort of situation.
Hmm.
Wow. Wow. Feel it for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So moving on under your career then, I suppose because you fitted in so well, I guess your career stream in terms of promotion was quite good, I would imagine.
Yeah. So there was a point after we came back from that first Northern Ireland tour.
Mm.
Um, I applied to do my to do my driving course, a driving card. A thing came up saying they're looking for drivers because the regiment was going to be posted to Germany,
All right.
and they needed obviously more people to be able to drive because they were going to be needed drivers for these 432s, the armored personnel carriers,
Right.
and that kind of thing, as well as more drivers required. So I saw this thing posted saying drivers required, and I put my name down, um, and I was told, and no, in certain terms, I hadn't been in long enough.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. And other people would have priority,
Okay.
which,
Uh,
so well, typically I was incensed by it.
yeah.
And then another thing came up saying, um, physical training instructors course, blah blah blah. So I put my name down for that. Be careful what you wish for.
Yes.
I got it.
Oh, wow.
Nobody else wanted to do that anyway, so
Oh, yeah. Well, there you go.
I got it. But to be fair, there's no looking back, and that was fantastic.
Yes, I can imagine so. Because
I
you're a fit person. That kind of world suits you anyway.
Yeah, and I went and did the course. I passed it. I got yeah, and so that was another level of qualification and experience.
Mm. Obviously, all goes towards there'll be a promotion and everything like that, right?
Yeah, so I after about I guess 8 or 9 months of doing the course and passing that, um, I was then I was asked about, or summoned by the company sergeant major saying that they were going to promote me to Lance Corporal.
Okay.
Um, and I was just about 19
Wow.
at this time, and I said no.
Really?
I did. I said no, and my reasoning was about, well, I've got all these older guys that have been in the army for whatever,
Yeah.
you know, and I'm gonna, as a Lance Corporal, I'm gonna have to start bossing these folks around,
Yeah.
and I can imagine in my head anyway what's gonna happen. So I went to Sergeant Major. I said no, I'm not really prepared to take the promotion. And then whilst you're out in Germany, there's a call out procedure,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
which you'll probably be aware of as well.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So, and what happens is round about I don't know, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock in the morning, this thing happens, and everybody gets called in, and you're preparing.
Know it well. Know it
to
well.
Um, anyway, the sergeant major called me in and put me on fatigues in the cookhouse.
Is that because you refused to?
Well, that was the method in what he was what he did was to teach me a lesson, really. So I had to peel potatoes, but and
I don't know that bit so well.
I had to peel potatoes and wash pans and all kinds of things for 600 odd soldiers coming in to camp. There was two of us doing that. As a private soldier, you have to do fatigues. As a Lance Corporal, you don't. So immediately after that, I went back to him and said, "Is it still open?" He said yes.
So another lesson learned, right?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So I was promoted as a Lance Corporal, and I carried on, most of the time doing the fitness training, taking all the soldiers, officers, everybody on their fitness training. There was a team of us doing that.
Yeah.
But then anything's operational, I would then revert straight back to
Yes.
getting on with it. Yeah.
That's fantastic. I mean, I sort of cut you off a bit about the Falklands. Did you actually go to the Falklands?
No.
Right.
We didn't go to the Falklands. No.
Right.
No.
That's interesting. So you served some time in Germany, you said. How long did you do in Germany?
Yeah. Probably a total of 8 years.
Oh, that's a good while then.
Out in Germany. So
Right.
we were at Osnabrück in
Know it
the
well. Know it well.
yeah.
Okay.
So that was for about just over about 4 years.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
from there, we did a couple of tours. I did a tour of Northern Ireland whilst we were still out there
Right, right.
as well, and come back to the UK to do courses and various other things as
Fantastic.
well.
Yeah.
So that was Osnabrück, and then I did 2 stints in Fallinbostel.
Okay. Yeah.
That was later on
Yeah.
in my time.
All right.
Yeah,
Right.
but really enjoyed Germany. It's a
Yeah.
fantastic.
Absolutely understand that 100% because
Yeah.
that Gütersloh was where I spent my younger years.
Okay.
Yes, and
We
then
we used to play rugby against them.
oh
Yeah.
right, okay, yeah.
We always won.
Yeah, well, rough and tough boys against the the softer Royal Air Force boys, as they call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. So at the end of all of that, then you decided to leave the army and do something different.
Yeah. So I progressed reasonably well through the ranks. I was a sergeant by the age of 24.
Wow.
Um, I did a whole range of different things. I was posted out to train recruits as a corporal. I had a couple of tours with the Territorial Army, so training them as well. Um, I did. I was in the first Gulf War.
All right. But you actually
Yeah,
went to the Gulf.
yeah.
Oh
I
wow.
went to the Gulf. Yeah, in the first Gulf War. I had a big responsibility out there. Um, and then um, I became after that I became a company sergeant major,
Mm.
and then after that I then got the other promotion, becoming what they call the RQMS regimental quartermaster sergeant, responsible for equipment and storage and a whole range of things.
Mm.
And I didn't get selected for my warrant officer class 1,
Oh.
which is something that I guess eventually is something I was aspiring to,
Yes, of course, of
and
course.
felt that I'd done all the things necessary,
Yeah.
and I had good reports from various places and things, but it didn't happen, and I was disappointed. Uh,
Is that one of the reasons why you left?
Well, the 2 things. I'd come to my end of my
Contract.
contract, really, in terms of being, doing 22 years man service and 2
Yes.
years boy service. So I'd come to the end of that. But if you were got the warrant officer class 1, you could then be commissioned,
All right. Yes,
so
yes.
on, and continue, and or you could go elsewhere. Um, so in some ways, yes, I was disappointed in that aspect.
Mm.
Having said that, it's only in my latter years, I guess, serving that I got um I guess focused more on and those kind of things. I just got
Yes,
on with it and got
yes,
on with it, and things
yes,
happen. Uh,
yes.
so, but so at that stage, and usually folks will get their warrant officer class 1 with 2 or 3 years still to serve.
I see what you're saying. I understand that. I understand that.
So I kind of ran out
Yes,
time, I thought. And although I was offered, to extend my service as a warrant officer with another unit or something else,
Mm.
in conversation with my wife, and we'd been doing that for some time anyway.
Mm.
Our children were still quite young, and we wanted them to be settled
Right.
somewhere, where they could get good schooling,
Mm.
make good friends, put a base down somewhere, and so on. And so decided that was
Yeah.
a time to kind of call it quits, really. I'd done my thing, and then I'd
Yeah.
choose something else.
Well, that's something else. You really have progressed very well and excelled in a lot of ways, haven't you, in terms of what you did after?
Yeah. There's a lot of luck required in certain things, and they say you make your own luck, and
Absolutely.
there's a combination of things there. So I always had it in my head that when I left, I would work with young people,
Okay.
um, uh, with a view of giving, I guess, helping them to take opportunities and to develop and to grow, and make the best of their lives, really.
Mm.
Um, and that was also about choice. I felt, although my career in the army, was successful and I had a whole load of, it wasn't necessarily the choice. I didn't have this choice in my head. My circumstances, uh, I guess, led me to, well, what are you going to do?
Mm.
Um, so I just wanted to, I guess, get young people to recognize the things that were important and that they actually could have choices in this world
Mm. Mm.
rather than take what you're given. So at the point, I was the RQMS in the regiment, and part of that responsibility is when folks have been posted, you organise all their kit and equipment to go to wherever it is that they've been
Okay.
posted to, as well as the families and everybody else.
Mm.
And one of the officers was being posted to um, be a liaison for the military with the Prince's Trust.
Oh, yeah.
And it was somebody I knew quite well. Um, and I said to him, I'm really interested in that. You get me an interview and I'll make sure you get your kit. um,
Oh.
so, obviously jokingly, but I explained to him what my interest was. And true, he said, sure, true to his word. He got me an interview. And I went to Birmingham to have this interview with the Prince's Trust, and they felt that I was a good fit and that they would be prepared for me to volunteer with them, which is what I,
Fantastic.
to do some
Fantastic.
voluntary stuff.
Yeah.
And so because our regiment was going to be posted out to back out to Northern Ireland again,
All right.
um, I was actually, what's the word, entitled? Not entirely sure. I was entitled to have my last 6 months on the mainland.
Right. I hear you. I hear you.
That's part of the system
Yes.
when you've done your 22 and you can have
Yes.
your last 6 months mainland. So I, had a conversation, made a deal with the quartermaster and the CO that I would hand the camp over whilst they took everybody that they
Yes.
needed to, as long as I could have my last 6 months on the mainland.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that 6 months, I volunteered with the Prince's Trust in Birmingham,
All right.
working out of Ladywood area.
Wow.
And I learned quite a lot in that
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
but also they were trialing new programs for the Prince's Trust.
Mm.
Actually, the particular element I was involved in, it was the personal development
Yes.
program. So originally it was a 12-month kind of program for mainly unemployed young people,
All right.
term unemployed. Um, and when I got there, they were wanted to trial it for a 12-month, sorry,
Mm.
12-week program. So
Okay.
condensing it from 12 months to 12 weeks. And they would be including employed young people coming onto the program as well.
Okay.
So uh, I'd had a lot of experience in writing, programs, training programs, development stuff, and
Mm.
training and so on. So I took on the role of writing certainly one of the programs with a number of criteria that had to be in it.
Yes.
Like set out by the Prince's Trust. And I wrote this program and then recruited, a group of young people to participate in this program.
Okay.
And also some employed young people were sent on it as well. I had somebody from Sainsbury's, a training manager, and
yes,
a couple other folks on it. Anyway, it was really successful. The program that I had written, and they'd trialed 3 other programs across the country in different places. And the one that I'd written was selected as the national model.
That's fantastic, because I guess you're talking about companies signing up to these programs and part of the Armed Forces Covenant, right?
They're doing now, but at the time, very different. But the thing about the Prince's Trust was, and I don't know if folks know much about this, but it was originated by Prince Charles.
Yes. The now king. The now king. Charles.
Yes. And the reason he did it was because he actually served in the Navy.
Okay.
He did his stint in the Navy, and he recognized the team working and the camaraderie and all those kind of things that that exist in places like that.
Right.
So what he wanted to do was to create something for young people that would mirror that to a degree, so that they would be able to get that kind of thing. And so he engaged folks from the military to get involved in supporting it one way or the other.
That's fantastic.
So I was then able to be seconded at that time. The Armed Forces Covenant didn't exist.
Oh, right.
Then as that, but it was just one of those things that was going on. So through that process, I was able to do that. And then when my 6 months stint had finished, and it meant I was no longer a soldier, I had applied for a number of jobs with the Prince's Trust then, and I was initially employed by the centre that I'd done my volunteering for. But that was only for 12 months.
Yeah.
So I then looked, for other places, and I Stoke-on-Trent in Staffordshire were looking to run a similar kind of program.
Okay.
And I was living in Stoke-on-Trent actually when I left the army. We settled in Stoke-on-Trent.
All right.
So whilst I was doing this volunteering, I was commuting from Stoke to Birmingham every day.
Okay.
So I was leaving about 6 o'clock in the morning to beat the traffic.
Yeah.
And then leaving the last person, about 6 o'clock in the evening to drive back to miss it. So, but anyway, I applied for the job at Stoke College, and I got it.
Yeah. I'm not surprised really, because with your kind of background and experience, and having written that the thing that they adapted nationally, must have stood in good stead.
Yes, that's right. And I was well supported with reference from the Prince's Trust itself.
Yes.
And so on. So that was great.
Yeah.
It meant I'd got a pay rise, and I didn't have to pay for my travel back to Birmingham. And
win-win.
Yeah.
Absolutely. More time with the family and everything.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
Fantastic. So what did you get your MBE for?
That was it was a combination of it. So I set up this program, and over the years it what's it? Okay, so was more successful than any other British Trust program in the country.
Really?
Yeah.
That's an accolade and a half.
So I started this thing in Stoke on Trent College from scratch, really. Just me running the first team, recruiting these young people and running the first program. It's a 12-week program,
Right.
and it was very successful. And the college then, because it was a franchise kind of arrangement with the Prince's Trust, the college wanted to run more programs.
Okay.
So asked me if I would look at, how they could develop it to run across the whole of Staffordshire.
Wow.
So again, I wrote a paper and put a number of programs together to say this is how I thought, it would work, and they thought it would work in consultation with the Prince's Trust as well. And I was then asked if I would develop the thing. So I then became a project manager.
Wow.
To set this up and run it. And I managed to set the program up to run from 7 locations across Staffordshire.
Fantastic.
And again, very successful. And year on year, we outperformed all of the other, trust programs across the country.
That's absolutely commendable. Wow. What was it like they get the MBE? Did you get it from the king, from the Prince Charles? Huh?
The Queen.
Oh, the Queen. Oh well,
yeah.
that's even better. Better still.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Oh, it's just unbelievable. So the process is they write to, a letter arrives at your house.
Yeah.
Now, at this stage, when a letter arrived at my house, I was still on the reserve.
Oh yes.
The army, so I couldn't be called back up. And at the time, this was in 2006, and at the time, all of the things in Afghanistan and a whole load of things were going on, and that was escalating. And I got home from work anyway, and there was this letter from with the House of Parliament.
Yeah.
And I thought I sat down with this letter, and in my head, I'm being called up.
I understand that.
That's what's going through my head. Okay, this is what's happening. I'm going to be called up. Anyway, I sat down and opened it. And it said that I'd been considered for an MBE. I couldn't speak. I passed the letter to my wife. I couldn't speak. And there it was, yeah.
Wow.
And it said, it's for services to further education of young people.
That's such an accolade. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's it's quite emotional still,
Yes. Yeah. That's because it's not something you set out to achieve, or even, but a lot of times you just do things because you're doing things.
Yeah.
But to get that sort of award and recognition for what you've done, it's fully clear that it's not something you say, oh, I want an MBA, I'm going to work towards it, So when it lands on your doorstep and you get that, it's just,
completely
magic.
Out of the blue. And and my first thing that came to my head was wishing my grandmother was still
Wow. Yes.
To see that.
Yes, from that connection that you had at that tender age.
But I was able to take my wife and my two children,
Wow.
which is, you know, yeah.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So
Yeah.
you're still doing some sort of educational role now at the moment?
So I set up I went and did a master's in military veterans health and well-being. So
Excellent.
so after leaving, so that was my, you know, guest life at the college, and I spent a few more years doing other things there.
Mm.
So I ended up as a program manager. I had a staff team of 60
Wow.
academic and sports staff that I worked with, and that was mainly around working with disadvantaged young people
Right.
or young people that had been excluded from school,
Mm.
you know, and so on. And
So,
then,
sorry, that's quite a challenge. You know, yeah, I would,
yeah,
yeah, quite a challenge.
yeah. So I think it was really it's about the staff. Ultimately,
Mm.
you know, whosoever is face to face with that young person,
Mm.
that's where, as the way I see it, is where your effort as a manager or supporter
Mm.
and learning has to go to.
Mm.
All the other things, in my view, it's there and it's noise. You know, whosoever's face to face with people need every ounce of support possible,
Yeah.
because it then means that they can do the work that is needed.
Yes. Yes.
You know, so that was my approach,
Wow.
you know, to this thing. And again, for me, that's what made things successful. Yeah. So I took so yes, other jobs in the college. So I ended up um on the student support services side of the college, which meant that I ran the students' union.
Mm.
Um, I managed the counselling service and also the nursery, would you believe?
Wow. Wow.
But all of those things are the things that supports the students,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
which is, you know, really, really important.
Absolutely essential. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and then typically a lot of colleges were going through various redundancies and change. And
Mm.
whilst I was at Stoke College, I think 3 rounds of redundancies had gone
Really?
by.
Wow.
And at this point, the job that I was going to have to do, if I was going to stay, whilst they reduced the staff, was I felt going to be too much.
Right. Right. Right.
So I took redundancy
Mm.
and set up my own business.
Wow. So what's up, is it called?
It was called VRH Coaching.
Okay.
So I did a lot of kind of one-to-one coaching with people around lifestyle development, but focusing on what they wanted out of life. So for some folks, it's about change of career. For some folks, it's, you know, just getting fitter or, you know, communicating
Wow.
better. I
Wow.
also work with small business around the teamwork stuff,
Right.
as well as their developing their business.
Fantastic.
I also spent 12 months at a place called Roffey Park, which deals with people and organisational development.
Right.
A 12-month program whilst I was still at the college with them, so I kind of was able to employ you know, some of those skills
Oh.
in
Right.
that.
So your company's still going
Uh,
now?
I closed. It was a limited company, and
Right.
I set that up in 2010, and I closed it down last year.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm still doing, you know, the folks who are still contacting me, so I do some freelance stuff,
All right.
you know,
Okay.
now and then. and I do a bit of one-to-one coaching with young people who are, you know, going through whatever it is. And then, of course, the veterans thing called Veterans Reconnection Hub, which I set up after doing a master's in veterans health and well-being, because the research identified that there are lots of organizations supporting veterans, but there's a disconnect between the organizations and the veterans.
I get that.
Okay.
Yes.
And so everybody I talk to say, yes, that's true. So what I did was I set up a project through my regimental organization, which I've called a Veterans Reconnection Hub. And it is about reconnecting veterans with their comrades who they've served separately and miss. And it's also about connecting their family members as well with them and others. And, you know, and connecting veterans with their previous self as well.
That's quite interesting, because that sounds somewhat unique, really, to me.
But I do it through activity.
Right.
So I run a walking group where, you know, we get together and go out for a walk.
Right.
And people chat and
yes.
I run a couple of breakfast clubs as well, and I've linked to a fishing club and to a golf society.
So there's no end of retirement in sight then, sir?
Well, there's always something going on in my head, you know. I can't, it doesn't stand still, I'm afraid.
I hear you. Wow.
So, you know, if sometimes there are things that need doing.
Yes. And I get all that. And the fact that I believe you have good health, both mind and body, you know, you feel as if you can still contribute something in life, right?
Yeah. You know, my school motto was a healthy mind in a healthy body.
Wow.
And
Excellent.
So yeah.
Fantastic.
So yes, you know, and we spend a day looking after our grandchildren, so we have a real connection, you know, with them. They're still young, but
brilliant. Because at the end of the day, family is so essential, so important, and all of that sort of thing. Well, this has been absolutely fabulous, Baz. You know, this journey that he's taking us on, and I'm sure a lot of people get a lot from this. You know, I got to thank you for this, because it's the journey is very positive in so many different ways, because we've got a lot of youngsters out there who I hope will sit and listen. I know they don't have the patience, a lot of them, to listen, but if they were to get even part of what you're talking about in terms of your journey, they will get a lot from that, you know. So I think this is great. And I've got to say thank you very much for doing this. And we hope we can promote this recording to a level or levels that will ensure that other people get something from it. Absolutely fantastic. Have you got any questions at all?
No, I've come to obviously your organisation quite late. And I've seen, you know, you guys about in the past. I went to an event in Nottingham a few years ago that you guys were at, and so on. And I just, you know, like to commend you really and those guys for what you're doing. And you know,
thank you.
I want to. I certainly want to write a book, which is something that I've been gathering things for, and I want to put something together.
Just one book? You got some.
or
books.
series of small books.
Yes, fantastic.
or
Yeah,
something. You know,
yeah.
but so and you know, if I'm can ever be of any support, you know, with what you do, and attending the memorial service that you did, it was just fantastic.
All right, the Herbert Morris Day, the annual event at the National Memorial Arboretum. Yes, thank you for that. That would be fantastic.
Yeah, just you know, just let me know, you know, and so on, and we'll see how we can engage other people too.
Yeah,
involved really.
And we've got an ex-service personnel reunion annual event again here in Birmingham that we do have. You know.
Yes, I've had the invitation. I'm looking at that.
Yes.
There's a lot going on, I guess, for me next year. It's our 40th wedding anniversary.
Wow.
Next year, and
fantastic.
We're planning, you know, looking at planning something. So I'm not entirely sure.
Yes.
What dates and so on.
Not a problem. But I congratulate you for that. Now, congratulations for that. Reading that milestone. So fantastic. Yeah. Super. Again, we like to promote the forgotten generation. So if yourself and others would like to become a member of our organization, it's free membership. Just become a member so you can be kept up to date on what we're doing. You know?
Well, yeah, most definitely, and I certainly can promote it on the Veterans Reconnection Hub Facebook, which is open to yourself. You can just search for it and put things on. So that's another one of those things I've set up to make sure that, you know, folks can connect.
Yeah, brilliant.
So okay.
Yeah, good. So Baz, thank you so much again. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard it, and I hope that you will listen, like, and subscribe, and of course, comment about this fantastic journey that you heard about Baz. And again, thank you very much, Baz, and we'll catch up soon.
Okay, with my pleasure. Thank you.